to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson, and this is an additional episode to back the Magonomia Bestiary Kickstarter. Today we look at beer, satyrs, and lions. Satyrs are a problem. We wanted them for Magonomia because they turn up in folklore. They are, however, really rapey. That's also considered a bit humorous in some period work, so we wanted satyrs, but without any of that baggage. There are three bits of folklore that get us to what we want. Satyrs change form over time. The earliest ones are Ipotanes, horse-headed humans with huge generative members. These become the modern goat satyrs well before the game period. That's why we have an older and younger form in the story, and why we have space to generate a third general form. There's an idea in alchemy that you can grow artificial humans, which are sometimes called homunculi. I draw on that because it lets me cut all the rapes out. The idea that satyrs are generated in wine and that wine is not common in Britain let me bring in interesting changes in technology like fortified wine. I also wanted to bring in folklore about beer, but a lot of that was removed because I was showing too much of my research and not pitching directly at people's play experience. I discussed 13th century brewing in episode 47, but fortified wines hit Britain later than that period. I needed a fortified beverage, so I deliberately used Ortolan folklore from episode 63. That brings us to beer. Most of the origin folklore for beer comes from Germany. I had a heap of it in, and then looking at it thought, these are a lot of people ages away from the player characters doing irrelevant stuff, and so I cut it out. It was mostly about King Gambrinus, and I thought dragging him into Britain through Dutch immigrants fleeing the Spanish in the Netherlands would be suitable. What I didn't know, and now know, is that some British people claimed that he, the inventor of beer, was a mythical English king. I'm not quite sure how a drinking song can have 59 stanzas. Australian drinking songs tend to be far simpler. I mention this because there's a stanza in the exaltation of ale. In the title there are actually hyphens there so that you see the pun, that mentions Gambrinus. Time for a quote. I won't sing because life is hard enough. To the praise of Gambrinus, that good British king, that devised for the nation by the Welshman's tale, 1700 years before Christ did spring, the happy invention of a pot of good ale. This goes back to a history of Bavaria that was released in 1523, which mixed the folk tale that a German king had invented ale with the known fact that the Egyptians had beer by suggesting that he was Isis's lover. There are several potential kings that people associate with Gambrivius, and the one I chose was John I, Duke of Brabant. He was a folk hero of the area, and that area later becomes part of the Spanish Netherlands, so his people coming across the channel worked for me. He loved drinking, jousts, and fathering illegitimate children. His heraldic symbol was the lion. Brewing has been a feminized profession for some time, so I went with lionesses. Did I accidentally invent cat girls from first principles? Yes. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Your saga may vary.